Hello there and welcome to this video on foreign exchange quotes. We will discuss the types of FX quotes, so let's get going. Forex quotes can be based on the direct or European convention, indirect or American convention, or on a cross rate basis. For our discussion, we will consider the US dollar as the foreign currency in any quote. This is not necessarily true, but we will make this assumption for simplicity and understanding. Also, you may notice that pairs not involving the Japanese yen are quoted to 4 decimal places, and those involving the Japanese yen are quoted up to 2 decimal places. This is the market convention. Let's first discuss direct quotes or the European convention quotes. A direct quote or European quote or European convention quote expresses the price of 1 unit of foreign currency in number of units of the domestic currency. That is, the foreign currency is the base currency and the domestic currency is the counter currency. That is, the quote is foreign versus domestic. That is, the USD, which is the foreign currency, will be used as the base currency. Direct quotes are usually USD versus the counter currency. For example, USD JPY 154.00 means 1 US dollars is equal to Japanese yen 154. For calculation questions, you can think of the quote as 1 USD divided by 1 JPY is equal to 154.00, or the USD is 154 times 1 JPY. That is, USD divided by JPY is 154. If you want to buy 1 USD, you will have to pay 154 Japanese yen. A quote of USD SGD 1.3456 means 1 USD is equal to Singapore dollars 1.3456. That is, 1 USD is 1.3456 times 1 Singapore dollars, or USD divided by SGD is 1.3456. If you want to buy 1 USD, you will have to pay 1.3456 Singapore dollars. This algebraic perspective or A by B notation makes things more intuitive, especially when we derive forex rates from two given rates, as we will discuss later. Let's now discuss the indirect quotes or the American convention quotes. An indirect quote expresses the price of 1 unit of the domestic currency in number of units of the foreign currency. Domestic currency is the base currency and the foreign currency is the counter currency. That is, the quote is domestic versus foreign. For example, GBP USD is an indirect quote in the UK, USD being the foreign currency. For our discussion, the USD is the foreign currency, which is the counter currency. Currencies in the colonial old sterling bloc are quoted in indirect or American terms. For example, the GBP USD, Australian dollar USD, and Kiwi USD are examples of the American quote. Euro USD is also a highly traded currency pair. To revisit, you can say that Euro USD 1.1600 means 1 euro is equal to USD 1.1600. If you want to buy 1 euro, you'll have to pay or sell USD 1.16. 1 euro divided by 1 USD is 1.16. You can also say that the euro is 1.16 times 1 USD. Euro divided by USD is 1.16. Note that a quote is direct or indirect based on which currency is the domestic currency and which is the foreign currency. Also, an indirect quote is simply the reciprocal of the direct quote. For example, in Singapore, the USD SGD 1.3456 is a direct quote, which is basically a foreign versus domestic quote. The corresponding indirect quote of Singapore dollars USD is equal to 1 divided by 1.3456, which is 0.7432. Let's now discuss cross quotes. A cross quote is usually a direct quotation of two non-USD currencies. However, the term cross rate is used when we have two quotes with a common currency and we want to calculate the cross rate. Cross rates can be derived from any two quotes. The two quotes can be American, or both can be European, or it can be a mixed quote with one European and one American quote. Cross rates can be calculated even for two pairs not involving the US dollar. Recollect some basic algebra before we look at some examples to understand this. Let's say A by B into B by C. We take this algebraic expression. This is equal to A divided by C because B cancels out. For example, GBP USD into USD JPY. Both are different quotes. GBP USD and USD JPY are different. USD JPY is the European quote and GBP USD is the American quote. Therefore, this is a mixed quote. When we multiply GBP USD by USD JPY, we get GBP JPY. The USD gets cancelled out. Likewise, A by B divided by C by B is equal to A by C. For example, GBP USD divided by JPY USD. These are American codes, gives us GBP JPY. And B by A divided by B by C is C by A. For example, USD JPY divided by USD GBP, both are European codes, is equal to GBP JPY. All three mathematical operations or calculations lead to the GBP JPY code. Let's take one example with neither code involving the USD. Let's say we know that the AUD SGD is 0.85 and the SGD NZD is 1.35. We can calculate AUD NZD as follows. AUD NZD is equal to AUD SGD into SGD NZD. The Singapore dollar gets cancelled out and you get the AUD NZD code, which is 0.85 into 1.35, which is 1.1475. For the cases where you are given both the bid and the offer rates of the two currency pairs, the cross rate calculations become a bit complicated. We have a separate video on such calculation. This ends our video on the types of Forex codes. Thanks for watching and happy learning.